What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going over week 5 of fantasy hockey, and what that means is we're going to be talking about the best schedules and the worst schedules, some streamers to maximize your games for the week, and also some new must-add players. Before we talk about everything, just a quick shout out to Drafters Fantasy Sports, available in all of Canada and most US states. You can do pick'ems on the NHL, NFL, and more. As you guys can see here, there's props every night that you can do over and unders on, and you can also do best ball drafts like the Tuesday NHL Snipe. They do a best ball draft every night. You draft a team, and you can potentially win hundreds of dollars in prizes. Make sure you download the app and sign up using referral code FIREDUP. This will give you a 100% match deposit up to $100. This is just for first-time depositors only, but yeah, free bonus money to do pick'ems and best ball drafts. Also, guys, if you want to follow my Twitter at FIREDUP Fantasy, I post a lot of up-to-date information on there. And we also have a Discord community as well, and I'm in there chatting with you guys. So if you want to join that, the link is in the description. All right, now let's talk about the schedule for this week, and let's talk about the teams with the most off nights, okay? Not the best options. We don't have any teams that have 3 off nights or more. But in terms of the teams that have the best schedule with off nights, these teams would be the Devils, the Predators, and the Minnesota Wild. They all have 4 games and 2 off nights, which is pretty solid. These 3 teams also have a good opponent goals against average. But in terms of the strategy of streaming, it is going to depend on which team, right? Because for the Minnesota Wild, they play Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. If you have no open roster spots on Tuesday and Thursday because they are heavy nights, then you probably don't need to stream any Wild players until Friday. With that being said, guys, as you guys can see on the left, the off nights are Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, pretty usual. And then Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday are heavy nights. So pretty easy to schedule your ads for this week, unlike last week where it was all over the place. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the other teams, the Los Angeles Kings have 4 games and 1 off night. If you have Kings players on your team right now, that's pretty solid. Obviously not the most off night, so not the best for streaming, but still. And then we have a couple of teams that have 3 games and 2 off nights as well, which is pretty solid as well. So these teams are the Capitals, the Oilers, the Ducks, the Red Wings, and the Blackhawks. As you guys can see, I've highlighted green on opponent goals against average. This means that they are playing teams that let in a lot of goals if it's high. And in red, that means they're playing teams that don't let in a lot of goals usually. So the players on these teams that have a red opponent goals against average may struggle. On the flip side, the teams like the Capitals, the Devils, etc., that have a high opponent goals against average, the players may perform better than they normally do. Moving on to the least amount of games, there's a bunch of teams that only play 2 games this week, which is not ideal. And we have the teams that have 2 games and 0 off nights here. The Dallas Stars, which don't have a good opponent goals against average either. The Tampa Bay Lightning, the Florida Panthers, and the New York Rangers. Picking out players from these teams for the week is not going to be ideal for maximizing your games. And if you have a lot of players on these teams, you may not have a lot of games this week, and that could potentially cost you your fantasy week. You have 2 other teams that have 2 games. The Kraken, they have 2 games and 1 off night, so still not great for maximizing your games, but at least they have that 1 off night, and they have a pretty easy opponent schedule. And then the Vegas Golden Knights. Obviously, holding them for the entire week is not ideal. Obviously, the elite players that you have, you're going to hold on to them. But there could be a streaming strategy where you pick players on the nights up on Wednesday and then drop them Saturday. In terms of the rest of the teams, these are the teams that have 3 games and 1 off night. The Leafs, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Sharks, and the Penguins. And then we have teams that have 3 games and 0 off nights. It's not the best, but it's okay. These teams are the Flames, the Hurricanes, the Islanders, the Senators, the Jets, the Blues, the Canucks, the Bruins, the Canadiens, the Utah Hockey Club, the Sabres, the Flyers, and the Colorado Avalanche. As you guys can see, I've sorted them by opponent goals against average, and we're going to talk about opponent goals against average right now. Let's look at the teams that have the easiest opponent schedule for this week. These are the teams, guys. I think there's 12 here, top 12 roughly. And yeah, as you guys can see, the Flames face teams that let in a lot of goals. So definitely good for those players. And then going down this list, the Leafs, the Hurricanes, the Capitals, the Rangers, the Kraken, the Devils, the Panthers, the Lightning, very good opponent goals against average. And then also the Islanders, the Senators, the Predators, the Blue Jackets, and the Jets. They're pretty good too. Now, with the teams with the hardest opponent schedule, these teams are playing teams that don't generally let in a lot of goals. So the players on these teams, even the star players, could potentially underperform. These teams are the Avalanche, the Penguins, the Red Wings, the Stars, the Blackhawks, the Flyers, the Sabres, the Sharks, the Canadiens, and the Utah Hockey Club. And then the Bruins, Ducks, Canucks, and Kings, it's pretty middle of the pack average. So wouldn't say they have the hardest opponents. Moving on to the streamers, I'm going to get into some strategy after I give the streamers for 4 games and 2 off nights. But like I mentioned before, the Devils, the Predators, and the Wild all have 4 games and 2 off nights this week with a pretty solid opponent goals against average. So there could be some good options. Always depends on your league settings, always depends on your league size. But with the Devils, Stefan Nason has to be the best option because he is currently on the first power play unit over Timo Meier. And that could be for the foreseeable future as well, guys. So, yeah, definitely a long-term add as well, depending on your league settings and the size of your league. With that being said, there's some other options. Luke Hughes, not on Powerplay 1, but that could change eventually. And this week, in terms of his stream, he could definitely put up some points. Then you got other players. Dawson Mercer is in the top 6. Brendan Dillon, put some good peripherals. Eric Holla, Paul Cotter, Palat. These guys are deeper league players that I wouldn't necessarily advocate picking up. And then Tatar as well. Then with the Predators, Stamkos and Marchessault could be available if you're in a shallow league. I think those guys are due to have a good week, guys. They are bounce back players. They are buy low players, and they could be very good for this week. Some other players here, Ryan O'Reilly, top unit, top line, very good option. Brady Shea, Jeremy Lauzon, Tommy Novak, Luke Shen, Colton Sissons. These pickups depend on your league settings and what peripherals are counted. But yeah, some solid options here. Then finally with the Wild, I doubt Boldy is available unless you're in a taco league, but he's still only 90% rostered on Yahoo. So I'm including him here as a streamer if you're in like a 4-team league or something. But yeah, Matt Boldy, Joel Eriksson, Matt Zuccarello, Brock Faber, all on the first power play unit with Kaprizov, who is playing like an absolute monster. Marco Rossi, who's on the top line, even strength. Jake Middleton. Listen, guys, it's so funny seeing Middleton's roster percentage skyrocket to like 35%. It would be really interesting to see which players are being dropped for Jake Middleton, guys, because Middleton is an absolute sell-high player. But hey, he puts up okay peripherals, so he could be an okay stream if he's available. Then finally, there's some more players, some deeper league guys like Jonas Brodin, who's a defenseman, Marcus Foligno. Yeah, there's a bunch of other deeper league options if you're in a super deep league. Moving on to the strategy, because there are no teams that have more than 3 off nights, so you kind of have to get creative here. And what you can do for these 2 teams is pick players up on Monday and drop them Thursday. These 2 teams are the Predators and the Oilers because they play Monday and Wednesday, those 2 nights being off nights. So getting 2 games out of some of these players could be good. Then you could do another thing, guys. You could pick up these players on Friday and drop them on Monday. These are players on the Minnesota Wild or the Anaheim Ducks, because they play Friday and Sunday. Friday and Sunday are both off nights, so you could pick them up Friday and then drop them Monday of the next week. Instead of picking them up at the start of the week and not maximizing your games because they play on those heavy nights, Tuesday and Thursday for the Wild and then Tuesday for the Ducks. Then finally, the last way to get creative and maximize your games is picking up players on Wednesday and dropping them Saturday. The 3 teams that you would do this with are the Capitals, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Detroit Red Wings because they play on the off nights, Wednesday and Friday. Moving on to some power play updates. Olin Zellweger on the Anaheim Ducks. He's still getting the most power play time out of any Ducks player, so very good. Could be a solid defenseman add if you need a defenseman. Mason Lowry and Charlie Coyle, they were moved to the first line power play, and we saw McAvoy and Zaka get sent down to the second unit. So don't think this is going to last long term. Maybe they're just trying to mix things up to get these guys going, but definitely something to keep an eye out for. As I'm recording this, the Bruins are about to play the Flyers, so this may be different in this game. Maybe Coyle and Lowry are back on the second unit, okay? Yeah, I'm recording this Saturday morning. Moving down, we have Jason Zucker still on the power play 1 over Alex Tuck. Definitely not good for Alex Tuck in fantasy. Zucker could be an interesting deep league option, but yeah, that's what they're doing. The Blackhawks power play, they're definitely mixing it up, guys. I think Donato's on the power play 1 today, but they had Reichel and Bertuzzi on the top unit in the last game. They moved down Nick Foligno. So yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys updated to see how that shapes out. Then we have Lehkonen potentially returning Tuesday. I'm not sure if that is absolutely confirmed, but he will be power play 1 when he returns. And Obviously, there's a lot of questions up in the air of what this power play is going to look like when everyone's healthy, but for now, Lehkonen will be a solid add. Then with the Blue Jackets, we have Sillinger still on the power play 1. I would love to see Fantilli on there, but Sillinger is that guy for now, so definitely an intriguing option in a deeper league. Then with the Dallas Stars, not really sure what they're doing. I think they're mixing it up quite a bit, and they pretty much split the usage equally at the current moment. So something I will keep you guys updated with. Then with the Red Wings, we actually had Gustafsson get scratched 2 games in a row, but in practice, it looks like Gustafsson is back, and they had Seider on that first unit over Gus. So definitely promising if you own Seider, and not good if you're holding on to Erik Gustafsson. Then with the Oilers, McDavid's obviously out 2 to 3 weeks. They have Ekholm on the power play 1. They have Bouchard on one of the flanks, and then Ekholm running the point. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, guys. They could easily mix this up even when McDavid is out for the next 2 to 3 weeks. But for now, Ekholm could be a very good add in a shallow league as a short-term stream. Then with the Panthers, we have Juvis Belinskis on the power play 1. It was previously Adam Boquist, but he has been scratched. I believe he's been scratched 3 games in a row. So yeah, I guess it's over for Adam Boquist. I don't know what the Panthers are doing with Juvis. I feel like they should just put Ekblad on there or Forsling, but I know they're trying to reduce their minutes. Maybe they'll trade for a defenseman. I don't know, guys. But for now, in a super deep league, Juvis could be a good option. You also have Los Angeles King forward Alex Ferrier still on the power play 1. If you drafted Byfield, obviously this is very disappointing, but this is how it's been all throughout training camp and all throughout preseason. So yeah, we'll see how this progresses throughout the future, but for now, LaFerriere is still a viable option in a lot of leagues. Then finally on this page, the end of part 1, we have Stefan Noesen still on the power play 1 over Timo Meier. It's very sad to see, guys, because I drafted quite a bit of Meier. But hey, Noesen is a solid option in a deeper league. It's just a fact, guys. You know, he's going to average around 13 to 14 minutes a night, but being on this power play 1 is pretty big for his value. Then moving down to part 2, we have the Islanders. Matt Barzal is out 4 to 6 weeks, and I'm sure they're going to mix up their power play quite a bit during this time, but I'm pretty sure they had Oliver Wahlstrom and Jean-Gabriel Pageau on that top unit, but they could be splitting the usage equally for the first and the second unit. We'll see, because I know Mike Riley went down with an injury. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, guys. I'll keep you guys updated. That's why you follow my Twitter at FIREDUP Fantasy, but this power play is sure going to get shaked up with Barzal out for the foreseeable future. Then we have the Penguins. Rust is obviously out. Yes, he is skating. We don't have a timetable just yet, but with Brian Rust out, we have Raquel on the top unit, and that definitely skyrockets his value for the time being. So definitely a solid short-term stream. And then Matt Grzelcyk is currently power play 1 over Chris Letang. I don't know if this is going to last, but definitely something to keep an eye out for. Then with the Sharks, we have Timothy Liljegren, quarterback in the power play 1. He just got traded from the Leafs to the Sharks. And yeah, immediately in practice, he's on the first unit. So definitely a very sneaky good option if he is available on your wire and you're looking for a defenseman. This is not the best news for Wallman. We'll see how long it lasts, guys, because, you know, if he struggles, they could easily put Wallman back in this top unit. So yeah, for now, Liljegren, very good add, especially if your league counts hits and blocks, because he puts up really good peripherals. Next, with the St. Louis Blues, we have Philip Broberg on power play 1, and then they move Shen down to the power play 2. So if you picked up Shen hoping that he was going to be on the first power play unit, you definitely have some disappointing news, guys. If you're holding on to Philip Broberg, then he gets a bump, because obviously getting on this top unit is going to help his value. So we'll see how this lasts long term. This is really only a short term thing because Robert Thomas is out with a ankle fracture or whatever the injury is. So yeah, for the time being, before Robert Thomas gets back, if Broberg is on this power play unit, he is going to be very solid. With the Tampa Bay Lightning, Brandon Hagel is still power play 1. I know I told you guys to sell high, but hey, if he stays on this top unit, he is going to be very solid. So will be interesting to see if they keep this top unit together. Now with the Leafs, they are doing the dreaded 1A, 1B power play units. I understand why they did this, because the power play has been terrible. We'll see how long it lasts, but with the power play right now, they have Max Pacioretty and Matthew Nyes on the first unit, and then they have William Nylander on the second. This also means that John Tavares is on the second unit as well, and they've also moved Riley to the top unit in the 1A unit, and then Oliver Ekman-Larsson to the second unit with the 1B unit. So that's how it's looking right now. Then a couple of more players here. Connor Garland still in the first unit. getting a lot of ice time, certainly an intriguing option in a league with 12 teams or more. Then we have Pavel Dorofeyev of the Vegas Golden Knights, still on the first unit, playing very well, very impressed with how he's looked out there. So great ad if you're in a 12-team league or more. And then finally with the Washington Capitals, we still have Pierre-Luc Dubois and Tom Wilson on this top unit, but the big change is them putting Connor McMichael on the top unit over Dylan Strome. I don't know if this is going to last. It could just be them rewarding McMichael for how good he's been playing, and Dylan Strome has been playing really good too. So yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. Something to keep an eye out for. Some more deployment changes in terms of even strength include Dylan Guenther moving up to the line 1 with Clayton Keller. That is very good for his value, guys. I know his ice time has been wishy-washy, up and down, but I'm still very high in Guenther being on the top line with Clayton Keller and also on the top unit as their number 1 scoring threat. So yeah, very good. Then we have Jason Zucker moved up to line 1 with Thompson and Tuck in the last game. I don't think this is going to last because Peterka, Thompson, and Tuck have been very good. But if it does, Zucker will be line 1 and power play 1, and certainly an intriguing option. I'll do this rapid fire. Evgeny Malkin, line 1 with Crosby, pretty good. Robbie Fabry to the first line, that's good for his value too. He's getting good ice time. Ryan Donato to the first line, and also the first power play unit, I believe, today. So, I mean, this isn't going to last, guys. They're just rewarding him for his good play. But yeah, I mean, he could be an intriguing option in a very deep league. Some more changes here. Jason Robertson moved to line 3 with Wyatt Johnston. They are really doing the spread out the lines thing this year, guys. Very disappointing. Yeah, not the best for all the Stars players. Yeah, it just kind of sucks. Then we have Marchessault moved up to line 1 with Philip Forsberg. Definitely good for his value. We had Zibanejad moved up to the first line with Panarin and Lafreniere. Don't know if this is going to last. They're probably just trying to get those guys going, specifically Zibanejad, because the Kreider-Zibanejad Smith line hasn't been very good. But yeah, that's what they're doing, and we'll see if it lasts. Then we have Jean-Gabriel Pageau moved up to line 1 with Matt Barzal out. Certainly an intriguing option as well in a deeper league. Then we also have Ridley Gregg up to line 1 with Tkachuk and Stützle. And Logan Cooley as well moved up to line 1 with Dylan Guenther and Clayton Keller. Moving on, let's talk about some forward adds. I've already talked about some of these guys when discussing deployment. So yeah, I'll kind of just do this rapid fire for you guys. The first player is Valeri Nichushkin. Just a very good IR stash. When he's healthy, he's an absolute monster. He should be back in the next 2 weeks, potentially. I'm pretty sure November 13th is the day that he can officially return. Don't know if he's going to return on that date, but he is skating, and it's looking good in terms of his return. Then we have Dylan Guenther. Already talked about it. Moved up to line 1. I think he's underrated. I still think he's going to be very good. JJ Peterka. Even though he was moved down to line 2 in the last game, he's still getting absolutely elite ice time. The coach obviously favors him, which is very good. And yeah, I just think his roster percentage is far too low on a platform like Yahoo. Then we have Mikael Granlund, probably not available anymore, but his shot volume has gone way up, which is very promising. And he's currently line 1 and power play 1. So yeah, definitely a huge fan. I know Celebrini's coming back soon, but even when Celebrini was healthy in that first game, Granlund was on that top power play unit. So Granlund should still be very solid for the entire year. Then we have Gabriel Velarde. I just think his roster percentage is too low. Arturi Lehkonen returning Tuesday. He's going to be on that top unit. We'll see if that lasts long term. Obviously, you have a lot of injuries, but definitely a very good ad if he's available. Kirill Marchenko, line 1, power play 1, 12 points in 10 games, playing very good. Breakout potential, huge fan. Pavel Dorofeyev, power play 1 with Victor Olofsson out, playing very good. Rickard Rakell, power play 1 with Rust out, very good peripherals. Connor McMichael, power play 1 over Strome. He had 10 shots in one game a couple of nights ago. And yeah, I don't know if it's going to last long term. Production is likely unsustainable, but still a very solid ad. Then we have Tom Wilson. He's power play 1. He's in the top 6. He puts up elite peripherals. I know he's been on this list quite a bit, but I just think he's underrated. Josh Norris. I just think his roster percentage is way too low, guys. Line 2, power play 1, really good ice time, good peripherals. And we have Dylan Cousins in the top 6 on the first unit, good peripherals. I think he's just a buy low, bounce back guy because he is getting a lot of scoring chances. He's taking a lot of shots, and I think the goals are going to come very soon. And then we have Stefan Nason still in the power play 1 over Meyer. Solid peripherals. Could be on this power play 1 for the entire year. Matthew Nyes, line 1, getting better ice time as we go throughout the season. He's also on the 1A power play unit right now, and we'll see how that transitions long term, right? They probably are not going to split the units for the entire year, but hey, he has potential with this power play deployment and also the even strength deployment that he's currently getting. He's also a guy that puts up really good hits as well. So something to consider, guys. Very good in those peripheral banger leagues as well. So yeah, moving to the next list of forward adds, Igor Chinnikov. I know he slowed down, but he still has really good ice time. He still puts up solid peripherals. He has that breakout potential. Line 1, power play 1. We have Connor Garland in the top 6, still on the power play 1, guys. I've talked about him. Yeah, very promising in terms of his deployment currently. Then we have Fabian Zetterlund. He's not on the top power play unit currently, but he's still getting very good ice time, and he puts up monster shots, hits, and blocks. So depending on your league, he could be super underrated. Next, we have Igor Sharangovich. He's healthy. He's line 1, power play 1, getting a lot of ice time. Doesn't put up very good peripherals, guys, but still, he could be slept on the wire, depending on your league settings. And we have Jean-Gabriel Pageau. He played 21 minutes in the first game with Barzal out. He's currently line 1 and power play 1. I'm pretty sure he puts up pretty solid peripherals in terms of hits and blocks, so certainly an intriguing option in a deeper league. Alex Ferrier, still power play 1, puts up solid peripherals. Just think he's a little underrated if he continues to get this power play 1 deployment. Cole Sillinger in the top 6 on the power play 1. I would like to see Fantilli get on the power play 1 over Sillinger at some point, but for now, considering Sillinger's roster percentage is like 3 or 4%, he's a very underrated option. Then finally, guys, Max Pacioretty. He's on the 1A power play on the Leafs. I don't think this is going to last long term in terms of them splitting the units, but hey, he could be a good option in a deeper league. Next, we have an IR stash, Brian Rust. I know Rust has burned a lot of people because he can't stay healthy, but guys, when he's been healthy, he's been very good. So looking at his roster percentage on Yahoo, it's like 43%. I think that's way too low. And if you have an IR spot available, I would suggest you stash him. Then the final guy here is Maxim Siplikov. I put Banner League here because he had like 8 hits last game. He's putting up a lot of hits lately. So if you're in a category league or a points league that heavily values hits, he could be an underrated option. And then finally, I forgot to mention Kiefer Sherwood. His roster percentage has gone up quite a bit, but still, he's putting up elite hits. So if you're in the type of league like a category league that values hits, Sherwood could be very good. Moving on to defenseman adds, Matthias Ekholm, power play 1 with McDavid out. Only a short-term stream, guys. He gets a little bit of a bump if this sticks for the next 2 or 3 weeks. We have Brant Clark. Doubt he's available unless you're in a taco league at this point, but he looks very good out there. He's getting better minutes. Still not the best, but power play 1 deployment, really good peripherals. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. Then we have Philip Broberg, another short-term value bump because when Robert Thomas comes back, it's likely to be Falk on the top unit, but still, he's getting a look on the power play 1 with Robert Thomas out. And who knows, maybe down the line, he'll get on the top unit over Falk. We'll see what happens, but definitely a little bit of a bump to his value until Robert Thomas returns. Then we have Timothy Liljegren, very underrated, low roster percentage player. Got moved from the Leafs to the Sharks, put on power play 1 in practice. We'll see if this sticks, but power play 1 deployment, good peripherals, no-brainer add in a deeper league. Then we have Jake Wallman. Yes, he got bumped down to power play 2, but he can get back on the first unit at some point. Regardless, he's still getting top pairing minutes and putting up really good peripherals. So I'm still a fan. Then we have Olin Zellweger, leading the Ducks in power play time per game. Looks very good out there. He has that breakout potential. He's not going to be one of the best options, guys. It's more of a deeper league ad. Like if you need a defenseman in a 14-team league or a 12-team league, in a deeper league where you need a defenseman, Zellweger could be a very good option. And then finally, Riker Evans. Dunn is still out on the LTIR, so Evans is getting more even strength and power play time. So yeah, he'll be solid, especially if your league counts peripherals, because he's been putting up solid shots, hits, and blocks. Then finally, we have some deep league speculative ads. Mason Lowry, power play 1 in the last game. As I'm recording this, they're playing the Flyers. Don't know what the power play will look like in that game, but he certainly has some value if he continues to get power play deployment. I do want to say Lowry could get scratched or sent down to the AHL at some point, so don't bet on him to be this amazing fantasy option, but in a super deep league, he could be worth a look. Then finally, Matt Grzelcyk. He is currently on the power play 1 over Chris Letang. They have him and Erik Karlsson on this top unit together. Don't know if this is going to last either, but certainly worth a look in a deeper league. Finally, let's talk about some goalie ads. Lucas Dostal, doubt he's available anymore, but he currently has the best stats out of any goalie in the NHL. I don't know if it's going to last. We're still talking about the Ducks here, but yeah, for now, you absolutely need to pick him up in case he really is legit. Then you have Pyotr Kochetkov Anderson, Freddie Anderson, he's out week to week. Anderson, he's very injury prone, guys, and Kochetkov is a young goalie who has shown promise in the past. So being on the Carolina Hurricanes, getting the bulk of starts, he is a must-add goalie. Then we have Joseph Woll, the Toronto Maple Leafs. He is getting 2 starts in a row. Stolarz is still there, and I'm sure Stolarz is going to eat into the timeshare. It's probably going to be a split, but getting 2 starts in a row is definitely a promising sign. Next, we have Justice Noonan. I know they scratched him, and they wanted to give Kaapo Kähkönen a look, but I still think Noonan has a lot of long-term potential, so I certainly think he's worth holding on to, depending on your league size. Then we have Kevin Lankinen. He's better than Sheloff's. Yes, Demko's going to return at some point, but we don't know about this weird muscle injury with Demko, if that's going to impact him long-term. So if it does, Lankinen's going to be the guy in the Canucks. So he's definitely worth adding in the meantime, and also potentially holding on to see what happens with Demko. And then we have Samuel Ersson. This guy's an absolute volume stud. He's playing very good, but I'm pretty sure I just saw that he left the game in the second period as I'm recording this. Hopefully this is not long-term. If it is long-term, Kolosov, the Flyers backup, who is better than Fedorov, could see more starts. So yeah, still pick up Ersson if it's not long-term, but if it is, then Kolosov could be an okay option. And then we have Peter Mrazek, not the best in category leagues, but any leagues that value volume, he is a volume stud, guys. He was a volume stud last year. He's a volume stud this year. Definitely a fan in certain leagues. Next, we have Elvis on the Blue Jackets. He's getting more volume, guys. I wasn't sure what was going to happen between him and Tarasov, but Elvis is playing pretty good. He's been good in past years because the Blue Jackets let a lot of shots against. He's still in the Blue Jackets. He's still Elvis, but in certain leagues where volume is very good, he could be a solid option. Then finally, Alex Nedeljkovic. It's still the Penguins. You still have Blomqvist there. You still have Jari trying to get in the right headspace. But Nedeljkovic, as I'm recording this, it's looking like he's getting 2 starts in a row. So could be a good volume option in a deeper league. All right, guys, that is the end of the video. Hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.